Don't mind the mask. I am not a blood, okay? I am not gang affiliated. I don't have any disposable masks right now. Yo. Damn, I'm trash at making intros. What's good? Hi, it's me, Youko. Today's vid, I'm not gonna lie, we're just yapping about Pokemon. You might be asking why? Well, I've had the idea to make a video like this where I kind of just yap for an undisclosed amount of time, just about something I like, whether it be cartoons, video games, anime, manga, music, you know what I mean? Since this video came out, watch it if you want. It's old as hell, but I like it still. And the reason why I want to be talking about Pokemon is because, one, not only I've been wanting to make a video like this since Legends ZA was announced, but also because, you know, we just finished the Pokemon arc, you know what I'm saying? Go watch these two playthroughs. They're good, I think. But yeah, we just finished the Pokemon arc, so I want to close out this arc before we, you know, start tackling the next shit. But yeah, the plan for today is I'm just going to be talking about the Pokemon games, more so the Game Freak games, you know, just giving my thoughts and opinions on each of the generations, because why not? But before we do that, first I want to shed some light on my history as a Pokemon fan. Alright, so a little background on me with Pokemon. Now, see, I did not grow up with the Pokemon games in this, like, you know, like, the fucking, these games, you know what I'm saying? I did not grow up with these games, in particular the Pokemon. What I mostly grew up with Pokemon is all of these. I'm talking about the anime slash movies, the Pokemon cards, the spin-off games, you know, like fucking Mystery Dungeon, Rumble, Colosseum, XD Gale of Darkness, Poke Park Wii, W game, especially number 2. I need a 3, bro. Poke Park Switch 2, like, come on. Or the fucking Pokemon website, fucking Pokemon Lake. If you know about Pokemon Lake, you're an OG. Like, bro, what do you know about these? What do you know about these, huh? Go to the fucking movies, all of them. Heroes, best Pokemon movie, period. Fuck the Mewtwo movie. Oh, and Destiny Deoxys. That's a fire ass movie too. And come on, man, what you know about these, bro? What you know about these? The fucking, you know what I mean? Hold on. Like, yeah, you know what I mean, bro? Yeah, I mean, come on now. What you know about these? Bro, the OG fucking handbook, bro, that I'm highly sure my brothers had. I'm gonna keep it a buck. This one, oh my god, you see how it's still pristine, bro? Look at the quality, bro. This was the first book I actually got for me. I would show you Pokemon cards too, but my brother sold them, so but pretty much I say all this to just you to know where I'm coming from as a Pokemon fan, since, you know, I feel like every fan is different in some sort of way. But yeah, and if we're talking about, like, specifically with games, like I said, Colosseum is my favorite Pokemon game, period. And, you know, I personally have Colosseum as my standard point of what a Pokemon game should be, with, you know, a cool, interesting concept, fire battles, interesting story, like an interesting enough story to the point where I'm willing to do all the puzzle solving, even though I didn't. I got my mom to fucking do it. Well, I'm willing to play through the game, you know, just to, you know, finish out the story. Interesting characters, whether it be through design or writing. Interesting set pieces with towns with interesting lore. I just want something interesting, an interesting experience. That's really what I'm expecting out of Pokemon. Now, with that being said, let's jump into talking about the Pokemon games themselves. Two things before I start. Number one, just to quickly save some time, the reason why I put them all in one section is because I don't really have anything to say about those games. I'm gonna keep it a buck, since, like I explained in the background, my interaction with these games were very limited, except for Heart Gold, which I'll get into in a bit. But yeah, I don't really have much worth saying about these games other than, except Heart Gold. For Heart Gold, is mostly just complaints, the normal critiques of, you know, not enough Johto Pokemon being in the first half of the game, and the level gaps being egregious as fuck. Another thing I really want to just speak my mind on, the defense that a lot of people use to say that this game is good, is the fact that you not only have access to the Johto region, but also the Kanto region, and people saying, oh, it's like 2 games in 1, so therefore it's good. Shut the fuck up, you gluttonous piece of shit. I'm sorry. If you hold that opinion and say that's the reason why Heart Gold is the best game in the franchise, then your opinion is invalid to me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Gen 1 to 4. Now, Gen 5, my personal favorite of all of the generations. It was the generation where I really got into Pokemon, like everything related to Pokemon. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, that's why Rumble Blast, you know, Poke Park 2. You know what I mean? But with that being said, this section is going to be very biased. I'm not really going to be talking about flaws from these games, mainly because I played those games when I was 8 to like 12. So I don't really remember shit from that game. I'm gonna keep it a buck. So I don't really have anything like constructive to say when it comes to flaws. So you know what I mean? But I need to clarify something really quickly. I only played Black 2. I did not. But with that being said, let's start the dick suck section. First thing I want to say about Gen 5, it is the peak of the 2D era, objectively. If you don't think that, I'm sorry, you're just like, I can understand if you just say, oh, you just don't like Gen 5, but objectively, Generation 5 is the peak of the 2D generation. Now, why? Because to keep this nice and short, the reason why Gen 5 is the peak of the 2D era is because of the fact that it just takes all the great framework that was done in Gen 4 and just builds upon it. Like, a lot of the shit was already finished with Gen 4, so all they had to do was just add on to it. Because of the fact that they already had so much work done, they were able to put more focus into the shit like the art style and story. In terms of the story, I can't speak on that because yeah, I mean, from what I've heard about the story, they're just talking about the dilemma of, you know, the ethics behind Pokemon and how it's not always black or white. Anyway, you're not getting cool aesthetically pleasing towns as you are in Gen 5 because like for, you know, just to throw out some quick examples, you know, we got Virbank City. You know what I mean? Just some chill ass underground city. You know what I mean? There's probably a lot of crime going on here, but it's like on some speakeasy type shit. And then you transition that over to Castelia City, which is this big bustling city with people constantly flowing the streets. You know, like fucking traffic of people walking. These big ass buildings. The fucking Pokemon headquarters is there. That's cool. I didn't even know that until I revisited the game recently. Or Skyarrow Bridge, and I'm not only talking about this little aesthetic ass entrance before you even get onto the bridge, but even walking through the bridge and having that whole like, the camera angles change while you're walking. The infamous meme of that one friend who doesn't have T or HMO2 or whatever the fuck going home after the hangout, or one that tickled my fancy the most, the tunnel that connects Undella Town with, if I'm reading this correct,
Humalau.
But you know, just going through that little underwater tunnel and seeing all the Basculin and fucking Mantykes and whatever Frillish, you know, swim past. It's like those underwater portions in an aquarium. I love that shit. Like look at this beautiful ass like design and shit in the very beginning of Black 2, which is the Aspertia town. Like, is this not cool? But with that out of the way, let me talk about some of the shit I actually really in that game. Starting off with the music. For the music section, I'm not gonna lie, I'm too lazy to edit the whole portion, so just, I don't know, man, just go listen to the OST on YouTube or some shit. Speaking of music, you know I make music. Go check out my music before you go check out Gen 5 music, please. Thank you. The next thing, the season mechanics, you know, where at times in the game they'll alternate between summer, spring, fall, winter, and depending on whatever season it is, it gives you access to different parts of the map. And that's an interesting ass mechanic that they haven't really added back. I really wish they did, but I understand, you know, it's a little bit harder to do it with what they're trying to do now, so I'll give them a little bit of leeway. But I would definitely love to see a return to that if they ever do go back to like a 2D game. They're not going to, but you know, it'd be nice. Another thing I really loved about Gen 5 was the legendary trio in particular, mainly because I mean they're fire as fuck, but also I love the lore that went into that trio, that them being like all pieces to an original dragon. And I would love to see them make a game related to the original dragon in some sort of way, like, and have that be a Pokemon you can't catch, because like, just have it be a boss Pokemon. That would be fire. Come on, bro, that would be far more of an interesting thing for Pokemon to do, and have it be like a tri-type Pokemon, you know what I mean? You know, have the fire, the electric, the ice, all of those abilities. Game Freak, if you ever do that idea, I would like $500,000 in cash mailed to me via messenger pigeon. Thank you. But the last thing I really want to talk about with Gen 5 before I move on to Gen 6 is side content. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the film studio. I didn't spend much time with the film studio. Like, the last thing I remember doing was fighting the fucking blimp, but it was cool. But what I did spend a lot of time doing was the musical theater. I spent a lot of time doing the musical theater. Too much time doing the musical theater. Like, I was grinding that shit because I wanted to get every single accessory that you can get. But the other thing I grinded like crazy, I grinded to the point where I maxed it out, was the tunnel that was on Route 9 that connected Castelia City, or that route to Nimbasa City. Dude, I loved that shit. It reminded me a lot of those like tycoon type games.
To the world of Pokemon Sleep.
But yeah, dude, oh my god, that I loved that shit with a passion. All right. Gen 6, the beginning of the 3D era of Pokemon, and what I personally think is like the second most important game to the entire franchise, next to, you know, the original red, blue, and green. Why is it important? I mean, come on, it was the very first step into the 3D world, which is where they're really trying to focus on a lot more now. Are they doing it with good attempts? I'll explain later. Another thing that was introduced into this game was battle gimmicks, you know, mega evolution, because now it's become a trend. With every generation there's a new battle gimmick. Like Gen 7 had Z moves, Gen 8 had the Gigantamax, I think that's what it's called, and the recent generation had terastallization. So that was another very important thing that Gen 6 introduced into the franchise. And last but not least, and what was very controversial at the time, but now I mean, like, if you're complaining about this, I'm not gonna lie, you're kind of just a bitch. XP share, universal XP share. You no longer need a fucking machine or an item to do it, and it just does it for everyone in your party, which is a huge time saver, especially when you're grinding for levels. With this game, since I played it more recently, like when I was 17, I played the game when I had a more developed frontal lobe, so I have a little bit more in-depth thoughts on the game. So let's talk about the shit I really liked about Gen 6. Number 1, the Mega Evolution. It was fun. It was a really cool thing because it's just the cinematics of, like, you know, seeing your Pokemon go like Super Saiyan, you know what I mean? Like it pretty much, Mega Evolution was pretty much like seeing Gohan go Super Saiyan 2 every fucking time. Yeah, I thought it was really fun. It was a really cool inclusion into the game. I'm glad we're going back to that for ZA. Yeah, I don't really got much to say about that. Another pro to the game was that they added the Pokemon Castle. Now, the thing about the Pokemon Castle is I fucking hate it. It was a good inclusion, don't get me wrong, and I actually grinded the fuck out of that shit. You know, some good side content. However, that castle is also the reason why I broke my 3DS. Because let's say, Mads had anger issues as a kid. And, you know, getting paralyzed for like 4 moves straight, you know, it will cause someone to get a little bit angry. Another pro to Gen 6 was that it was the introduction to character customization, which I fucked with heavy. Here's my character on screen right now. It was a nice inclusion, and, you know, character customization, and I feel like it's really important in any single player game, or just any game in general, especially one where it's your adventure. You know, you're not just following along a story. So the fact that we'll get to it later, but, you know, a certain game that you might know that had the most lackluster customization known to mankind is out there. Yeah, we'll get to that later. And the last thing was riding Pokemon. Yep. Yeah, listen, I like Gen 6, okay? I thought it was cool. It's just like, Gen 6 was really the beginning of the fall off. It wasn't as grand as a fall off as people think. People think, you know, it goes like Gen 5 up here and then Gen 6 like all the way over here. It's like, no, it's like here. Like more so here, around here. Still not good, but, you know, it's fine. With the cons of Gen 6, the game was too easy, I can't lie. And I know people like to say, oh, it's too easy because of XP share, and it's like, no, not really. It was just, I don't know how to put my finger on it, but when you play through the game, it just felt too easy. There was not a single gym in that entire game where I felt like I had to level up my Pokemon or had to redo the gym battle because I lost. A lot of the time, especially with the introduction of Mega Evolution, it made gyms like 1,000 times easier because you're giving you have a Pokemon going Super Saiyan that just does a stupid amount of damage. Like, it was too easy to the point where I got bored of the game. So much so that the last time I played it, I literally just got to the Elite Four, and I've never felt any desire to kind of finish the game. Like it just feels it's too easy to the point where it's too boring. There's not much of a challenge to it, and I understand it's like it's Pokemon, but it's at the same time it's like I do believe there is a little bit of room for like, you know, some challenging gyms, and this one just didn't have any. No challenging gyms, no challenging trainer fights, nothing. It's just a game completely supported by the fact that it's the first 3D game and vibes, and even the vibes aren't that great. Another con for Gen 6 is the story. I'm not gonna lie, that story was very uninteresting. I remember the first time I tried to record this video, I was trying to make it seem like there was a little bit more like nuance to the story, more so with the character Serena, but then after like reading through all the dialogue with Serena, like it was just it was bad. Like I do like how the character motivations were not only just focused on trying to be the best Pokemon trainer, you know, because then, you know, it adds a little bit more depth to the Pokemon world, you know, with Eterna trying to be on World of Dance, Terrence, I think that's his name, Terrence, I can't remember, trying to fill out the decks if I remember correctly, and Callum being the basic, oh yeah, I'm trying to become Pokemon champion, I'm trying to be the best trainer. But it makes the Pokemon world feel a lot more bigger, because it's like, yeah, you know what, I would kind of expect a world with like these magical ass creatures not only just have Pokemon trainer as the supposed big dream that everybody has, you know. It's just, it was handled so poorly. They felt too static and very uninteresting, except Tierno. We fuck with Tierno here. The last thing I don't like about Gen 6 was the fact that it was just very underdeveloped, I would say. Like the lore around like the cities and the towns and stuff felt really underdeveloped. For example, we have the stones in Geosenge. Outside of them kind of being suspicious, and it turns out they are, especially in like the Henge little area, because that's where the fucking Team Flare base is. But outside of that, there's no lore really attached to it other than the fact that they're just really old stones. Like all they really say is like, oh, these stones might have mysterious powers, and it's like, bro, what? Like, it's not only just those stones that have that bullshit, oh, mysterious power attached to it lore, but there's also the sundial over in Anistar City. I recently found out that after you beat the game, the Pokemon professor meets you there, and then he tells you to like do some fuck shit, and there you can like level up your Mega Evolution or some bullshit like that. I don't know. That's what the Bulbapedia said, okay? Outside of that, it's like, what else was the purpose of this thing? Like, what did it exist for outside of just upgrading your Mega Evolution? Like, is it just a cool ass aesthetic? So a lot of these structures in the game that seem really fucking cool and interesting, that might have some cool ass lore around it, don't really have shit to them. They feel more so as props rather than things within the settings, you know? It's kind of like eye candy. It's just there to make it look pretty, and that kind of sucks, especially if you're gonna be making some cool ass shit like the sundial. I would like some sort of like lore attached to it to make a little bit, you know, more fond of it, you know. Like maybe it could have been like a calendar counting the days until, you know, Xerneas wakes up, or not Xerneas, Yveltal wakes up. Who fucking knows? They could have fucking done that, you know, have it be on some Mayan calendar type shit. But yeah, all in all, like, hey man, once again, I actually did like Gen 6. It's just, it felt like a very much underdeveloped game, and yeah. Once again, with Gen 7 and 8, I'm just going to be putting it in the same section because I didn't play these games, so I don't actually have shit to say about them outside of, you know, I think Gen 7 is overhated personally, and I think the hate that came from them, you know, switching it up from the regular gym format, doing the island challenges were actually really fucking cool, especially the totem Pokemon. But you know, from what I've learned about the Pokemon fan base is that they don't want change. They just want to be spoon fed the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over. And with Gen 8, I really don't have anything to say in particular. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Personally, this game is the peak of all the Game Freak games, period. I don't argue with a wall if you want, I don't care. It's my personal peak, mainly because remember at the beginning of the video when I said, you know, Colosseum is my standard for what a Pokemon game should be. This one game out of the entire franchise, maybe next to Black 2, reached that standard. It was the one game that actually reached that Colosseum standard for me, and it really just gave me that same feeling I felt when I first like played Colosseum, or even like Black 2. But with that being said, because of that fact, I kind of just want to talk about the game. I want to highlight a couple shit, and I'm gonna try and be as in depth as possible, but you know what I mean. But yeah, all right, first let's talk about the gameplay. First thing I want to talk about for gameplay is the traversal. I'm not gonna lie, that shit was janky as fuck. Luckily enough for me, at least, I grew up playing Skyrim, which is most known for being the most jank game to exist, period. So personally, I don't really care that much about the jankiness. Second, I want to talk about catching. First thing, since you know this was the very first Pokemon game where you know you had 360 vision, it was more open world, you can kind of just go wherever the fuck you want. They decided to, you know what, allow you to catch Pokemon out of battle, which, oh my god, is a fucking time save. Thank you whoever was the director, thank you. It better not be Shigeki Morimoto. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about with catching is the different balls actually do like throw differently. So pretty much like you have the regular Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, you know, which are just regular tosses, but then you have the heavy ball, which you know is used for heavier Pokemon, and because of that you have to kind of like weigh your shot a little bit better. You know, you have to account for bullet drop or pokeball drop. That's cool as shit to me, because you know it switches up the catching gameplay. You know, it doesn't make it feel too stale, especially when you're trying to go for different Pokemon. Another thing about the gameplay, battling. I actually really enjoyed the battling in this game. I think it's the best battling in any of the games, mainly because it reminds me a lot of Persona. But yeah, I feel like this one aspect of the game is not talked about enough, because and is very much overshadowed by the fact that, you know, it was an open world game and you can walk around and catch Pokemon, you know, the basic shit that everybody talks about. But I loved how the agile style and strong style, you know what I mean, it was kind of like a risk reward type of thing. That's so fucking sick, because it adds more nuance to the fight. Like, instead of relying on like, oh, the super effective move, or playing around your ability, or you know, status effects, you could just have an entire turn where you're just spamming like agile style Thunderfang for like 3 turns. That's so cool to me. Like, you know, it makes the battles a little bit more interesting, and you actually have to put a little bit more thought into what your next move is, so then you can prioritize doing as much damage as you can with the risk of getting hit twice. I wish if they make another Legends game, they do that again. The last thing I want to talk about gameplay is, of course, the bosses / alpha Pokemon. I'm gonna talk about the alpha Pokemon first. They're cool. If you remember when the game came out, a bunch of people were just showing videos of their little starter Pokemon getting absolutely obliterated by that big ass like Snorlax. So yeah, it was a cool addition. Having them be big as fuck, beefy as hell is cool, and especially having them not be like leveled around like what is in the general area. Like, I think if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, the Alpha Rapidash in the beginning is like a level 40 Pokemon mixed in with like level 5 Starlies. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool addition, especially because it made, you know, wandering the wild a lot more dangerous, which was one thing they wanted to, you know, beat the fuck into you throughout the entirety of the game, that, you know, like, this world is dangerous as hell. But another thing they added, which was my personal favorite part of the entire game, gameplay wise, was the bosses. Like, I feel like that was the main reason why I had a lot of fun with the Legends Arceus, because you know, it was literally just like, oh, they're doing it was pretty much like a Dark Souls boss. Not really, not same in difficulty, except the Avalugg one, but it was only difficult because it was so fucking jank. But you know, I like how when you get the Pokemon to a certain point in their health bar, you have the ability to throw your Pokemon in to do even more damage. I didn't do that. I think I only did that for Avalugg, but I'm not pussy, so you know, I just did the one-on-one hands with the Pokemon. All in all, the gameplay was fire as fuck. With an entire switch up from, I wouldn't say a switch up, but it was definitely a revamp of the OG Pokemon style. Next, I want to talk about exploration, since you know this was more of a open world game. I know that like the correct term for this game in particular is open zone. I don't even think if that's the correct term, but I remember people using that for Sonic Frontiers, so I'm gonna just use that as well. I like open world games a lot, so usually a lot of the time I'm just kind of like, oh, what's that over there? I'm gonna go over there. Or it's like, oh, there's this portion of the map that's unlocked for me, I'm gonna just go there, because why the fuck not, you know what I mean? So I usually like to explore, and this, you know, this game in particular tickled my fancy. And like I said, even though it was open zonal, every zone had a lot of personality that, you know, I'm happy with. And there's a lot of spots that, you know, I that I actually really like. Some spots that I really want to showcase is this one spot in the very first zone that you unlock in the game. If you go over to like the left side of the map, there's like, it's like there's this ravine and then a cliff, and then you're on the other side. Like you'll see it like behind me somewhere over here on the summit of the cliff. You there's like a fucking Gyarados just flying up in circles and shit. That, I don't know, that was just so fucking cool to me when I saw that. And then like seeing that Gyarados, I was like, wait a second, can I catch that thing? Yes, you can. Did I catch? And I caught it too without a flying ball, because I'm just him. The second spot I really wanted to showcase is the manta ray horns. If I'm correct, this spot was in the OG games, the Diamond and Pearl games. But I don't know, it's just the aesthetic of seeing it in 3D, and not only that, but whenever it's evening, with like the orange sky, oh my god. And I love how, you know, it's not only just a set piece, it's a part of the way you get a legendary Pokemon, that being Manaphy. You know what I mean? I forgot the steps, but all I remember is that you need an Overquill and then like some other Pokemon. But you know, I think that really elevates that spot, because you know, there's actually shit to do there. This last spot is more so attached to a side mission, which I'll talk about later. But it's the side mission where you have to go check out this rumor about these Clefairies that dance and like do this little fucking dance while like the moon is there's a full moon shining on this one spot. And I don't know, it just looks perfect to me. You know, I don't know how to explain, but this shit, chef's kiss. All in all, like, yeah, the exploration was very, very fun. However, there are some issues, obviously, since this is their first attempt at doing an open world type game, but it's very small. Like I said, traversal, very fucking janky, so at times that does get a little bit annoying. You're not trying to climb up a mountain, but Sneasler ends up coming out anyway to climb up it, and you're like, bro, please go back in the ball. Small shit, but you know, doesn't ruin it too much. Same thing as the graphics and the render distance. Now I am somebody who does not give a fuck about graphics in a video game in the slightest. However, when you are making an open world game, I do want some decent graphics at least, or at least a nice art style. Not to say Legends Arceus didn't have a good art style. I liked it. I don't know why people kept shitting on it, being like, oh, this is just bunk Legend of Zelda. Shut up. Just shut the fuck up. I like that art style a lot more than whatever the fuck we got in Scarlet and Violet, so you know what I mean. But you know, another issue, especially for me, was the render distance, because I'll show footage here, but when you jump from where you get Weirdeer and then you glide all the way to the Cleaver fight, that forest, the trees don't load in until you get to a certain distance, so it literally just looks like plain land. And yeah, you know, that does not look good if you're trying to explore the world, you know. That shit definitely does negatively impact the exploration of the game. Next I want to talk about story, which is pretty much the only thing that I actually don't like about this game. Main reason why is because the story is very much Mickey Mouse. And it's like, what do I mean by Mickey Mouse? As in, like, it just doesn't really do anything interesting. Yeah, like, it's not really doing anything crazy. It's just a simplistic story. Not, once again, not to say well, actually, I am kind of expecting some sort of, like, decent story out of Pokemon, but since, you know, it is an RPG, and, you know, other games that are RPGs are, you know, Persona 5, Final Fantasy 7, Nier Automata, even God of War was somewhat of an RPG, especially the more newer ones, but Elden Ring. Characters, though, I actually do think were the more standout part about this story, but it was more so just through design, not really through any character writing. If you want to see me talk about my favorite designs, it's Adamant, because You're gonna make me act up. And Arizu? I think Arizu, that's her name. I don't know. I just like the design. I'm gonna keep it above. Well, all in all, yeah, like the story wasn't really anything, and it kind of just felt like there was just a story just for the sake of there being a story. Kind of like a Mario game. You're not really playing a Mario game for the story. You're more so playing for the gameplay. Now, with story out of the way, can talk about my favorite part of the entire game, the side content, aka the side missions, aka the mission board shit. My favorite fucking part. When I tell you, the instant I saw that there's those board missions, oh my god, I fell in love with the game so fast. That was the main reason why I fell in love with the fucking game. I love side missions, especially within open world games. I love trying to 100% shit. I tried doing that with Pikmin 4, but I got bored after I just didn't like the nighttime expeditions, so that's why I didn't 100% that game. I beat the game, don't worry, I just didn't try 100% it, like after I beat the first half. But you know, a couple of notable side missions for me are, you know, the missions where it is the first mission where you gotta go, I think it's the first side mission where you gotta go catch a fucking wormhole for the guy in outside of the Galaxy team, expedition team, Survey Corp, you know. And then as you like progress through the game, this guy's little fucker evolves. That's cool. I like that. Another one was the, like I mentioned earlier, the Clefairy one. Mainly because bro, I did not know how to do that shit, and I was struggling for like 2 hours straight just to see that cutscene where they're doing that dance in the moonlight. That was fucking fire. I'm not gonna lie. I like that a lot. The Shiny Ponyta side mission, it was on similar type timing as the Red Gyarados in Heart Gold. The Spirit 2 mission, I'm not gonna lie, fuck that mission. I had to use a map to get to complete it. I mean, it's cool nonetheless. I like the way how it starts off, you know, just a random ghost girl pulling up to you and just being like, collect these souls, return the stone. Last one I really want to put focus on is the one with the farming, you know, where the farmers end up asking you for a Pokemon that can do a certain thing or is of a specific type, so then they can use those Pokemon to help out with farming. You give it to them, and you know, then you see that Pokemon working the fields, you know, which is another thing I wanted to talk about with the side missions. The side missions didn't just feel like, oh, just little quests to just 100% the game. It's like, no, they actually make, like, some of the missions make an impact on your surrounding, especially within Jubilife Village, more specifically in Jubilife. Like I said, with the farming mission, once you give a Pokemon, you can see the fucking Pokemon you give up do the shit. You know, like he's just working the fields, and you can swap out the Pokemon working the field. So if you want your Geodude back, you can have him back and then swap him out for a different one. Like, that's cool. That's so fucking cool. There's the one where they're trying to get more construction done, and they need a Pokemon who can help out with that, and they ask for a bunch of Bidoof. So you give them some Bidoof, and then you see the Bidoofs helping around with construction. And if I am correct, I can't remember because this was at the very beginning of the game, and also like 2 fucking years ago when I last played. More houses get fucking built. That's cool, bro. That's cool. It's not only just for like the aesthetic of the Jubilife Village, but it also like helps out with like some aspects of customization. For like clothing, for example, the people who run the clothing store will send you on a side mission to go catch like a specific Pokemon so that they can research that Pokemon to make more clothes for you. And then with Azeru, when she becomes a hairstylist, she starts sending you on missions for specific Pokemon to once again do research on them, so then more hairstyles can be available to you. Like, come on, I love that shit, because now it gives you a reason to actually grind them out, to max those out. It's kind of like you know, in Animal Crossing New Leaf, when you're working on trying to get the TNT Emporium, you know what I mean? While we're close to the topic of character customization, Legends Arceus has some amazing customization. Obviously not as great as like the last generations, but I feel like they fit more in tune with the setting of the game, and therefore, you know, it's good enough for me. I pre-ordered the game, so I got the fucking fox mask, you know what I mean? And I think another pre-order bonus was the like orange Arcanine type suit. I could be wrong, but that's what I pretty much rocked throughout the entirety of the game. But yeah, the side content was my favorite part of the fucking game. There's also some extra shit too I want to talk about. Some quick shit. Hisuian forms, for example. They look cool as fuck, especially Hisuian. I was gonna say Samurai, but I'm gonna keep it a buck. They did not do my boy justice. Hisuian Arcanine looks really fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. Hisuian Voltorb is goofy as fuck. Unique Pokemon evolution methods. I think this was the first game where like they had a little bit more crazier ones. Like I remember to get over Quill, you need to get a Quillfish to use Poison Barb like 20 times or Poison Sting 20 times. Rear Deer, it was to use a specific move with Stantler like 20 times. Obviously, it's a little bit annoying, but you know, hey man, at least it's better than trade evolutions. But yeah, that's all. God damn, 35 minutes. That's all I wanted to really talk about Legends Arceus. There's obviously a lot more I could talk about, but you know, for the sake of editing me, try and limit it to as much as I can. Especially because the next game is Scarlet and Violet. Boy, oh boy, was that game okay. It was ass, but it was like an enjoyable type of ass. Don't get me wrong, the game sucked. My thing with Scarlet and Violet is that I feel like the hate it gets is not even really about the game, but more so the state the game was released. And you know, I agree somewhat. You know, it is a multi-billion-dollar company and franchise. You know, I would expect a little bit of polish, but like even if you fix the frame rate issues and the bugs with the game like crashing and stuff, which is fucking crazy to me, I'm not gonna lie, but even if you fix everything, the game is still ass. So but what do I have to say about this game? It's a game of missed potential, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm gonna tackle this the same way I tackled Legends Arceus. I'm gonna talk about aspects of the game and go a little bit more in depth in those aspects, highlighting shit I like, some shit I don't like, yada yada. Once again, we're gonna start off with gameplay. Just like with Legends Arceus, I more so want to start with traversal, since it is once again an open world game. Somehow, some fucking how, the traversal is more janky than Legends Arceus. I don't know how they did it, but you know, clap it up everyone, clap it up, because they somehow made it a game worse than than the last game they made. Make it make sense. And it's like, oh well, like why are you being so harsh? And it's like, because Legends Arceus was jank, but at least in Legends Arceus I didn't fucking glitch through the map. Okay, Scarlet and Violet I glitched through the map, and that was after the first month release, because I didn't buy the game until a month after. So that means they had time to, you know, get their first day bug fixes, and I still somehow glitched through the fucking map. Like, make it make sense. Next, for gameplay, I want to talk about the battling. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I actually like the battling in this game. I thought it was really fun. Once again, it's a return back to form, regular Pokemon style of battling, with, you know, the gimmick being terrestrialization. I thought it was cool. It was a neat addition to the game, mainly because that shit kept fucking me up. But you know, and also like the battles were like somewhat challenging for me, and that's good. I do like a challenging game. Like I said, one of my complaints with X and Y was that the game was just too easy. Like, you know, just having it be a little bit more challenging is always good. But overall, the gameplay was a huge step back from what Legends Arceus did. Not to say I was expecting them to do exactly what Legends Arceus did, but nothing really much to write home about. Next, I want to talk about the story, because I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the story is really the last positive section I have to talk about the game. This game in particular, they decided to split up the story into 3 different quest lines. So I'm going to just talk about each of these really quickly, give my quick opinions on them. So starting off with the Titan line / the Arven storyline. To me, this was the best story out of the 3. That isn't really saying much, however. Like, I thought, you know, seeing the relationship of Arven and Mass Boast, fuck, this little fucker, you know what I mean, seeing how like he was more attached to him than his own father, because his father was constantly working, you know, trying to be a Pokemon professor and what have you. I played Violet, by the way, I should probably mention that. But you know, gameplay aside, you know, them being more like boss Pokemons, I think that was really cool. Fuck Cloth though. But say that I think it's the best, is still very much run-of-the-mill to me. It's pretty much standard. That's what I'm expecting out of a Pokemon game. The second quest line I want to talk about is the champion quest line. I'm not gonna lie, very uninteresting to me, at least, but it was very inoffensive, you know? Like, it kind of reminded me a lot of like OG Pokemon. Nothing really crazy story-wise, but I think the highlight of this quest line was most definitely Nemona. That's just because of how annoying Nemona was for me, at least. And it's not to say I hate characters like Nemona, but I just feel like they definitely could have done more with Nemona. I felt like she was too static throughout the entire story. But yeah, like I said, story's not bad. Like, it's mid, but not atrociously mid. The Team Star storyline, however, I did not like in the slightest. I hated this story. Very much uninteresting. I did not care about any of the characters, any of their motivations. Oh, well, we were bullied. Team Star was about a team of people who got bullied, and we were trying to fight back against the bullies. But oh no, now we're the bullies. So now. And then Penny, being the creator, being like, oh, well, now I have to destroy because what became of what I made fucking sucks. What is that shit? Became what he sought to destroy? Some shit like that. The principal, being a character in that story, was annoying. I did not like his inclusion at all because he was just way too fucking clueless. Like, annoying amount of clueless. But yeah, just fuck that story. Another thing that actually ruined that story for me was definitely the gameplay, because that was the portion of the game where they really wanted you to focus on this new mechanic that they added, where you can send out your Pokemon to fight without going into battle, without beginning a battle sequence. They did that through base raids, and Jesus, were they boring and did they suck? Now, I'm no game developer, but I definitely do think they could have just handled it in a different way. You know, maybe have like 5 waves that you have to fight through instead of just having a kill, you know, and the Pokemon not only attack your Pokemon, but you also get attacked. Since, you know, these are bullies, like, I'm going to expect these people to try and attack me with their Pokemon, you know, which you could have brought back that dodge mechanic from the old game, you know what I mean? But that's just what I would personally have done with those base raids. Maybe my idea sucks, but it's definitely a whole lot better than just running around a base, an empty ass base, fighting just random ass Pokemon. But, you know, last thing I want to say about the story is, you know, at least the characters are memorable. Like, those 3 main storylines, I more so only know about them because of the characters. You know, Arvin, Nemona, Cassiopeia / Penny. So, you know, at least the game has that going on. It has memorable characters. The next section I want to talk about is exploration. The worst part of the fucking game. I'm not gonna lie. Well, the second worst part. One of the main issues with the game. You know, let's start off positive. Landscapes are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I really only have like 2 sections of the game that I actually really fucked with look-wise, and that is the top left corner of the map, which was that autumny area. This little pond in specific is my favorite spot in that portion of the map. It's really just on some vibey shit, you know what I mean, on some Kung Fu Panda shit. And this isn't even the bamboo forest. I just noticed, why is there a bamboo forest in like a region that's like based around like Spanish culture? Why is there a bamboo forest? Like, what? And then the other location is this cool ass cave that's like south of the Dragon Lake. I don't know, it just looks sick as fuck. And then the interior of the cave has like these little spikes and shit. There's a plateau on the top of it that you can jump down into, and then there's this fucking Garchomp that's just there to be a menace. Like, I like it a lot. But just like Legends Arceus, exploration got hoed by, you know, just dog shit traversal and, you know, graphics and frame rate. Another thing about the exploration was town designs. Alright, so I fucked up. For some reason, I started talking about town designs, which is not an issue of the game. The issue with the game had nothing to do with how it looked, unless like you're somebody who cares about graphics. But my biggest issue with the game was that, you know, the world was cool and all, but it felt empty. Feels empty because there's a lack of content. For example, towns and cities. Outside of the gym, if there is a gym in that town, there isn't really much to do. Like, there are 3 gym locations where there's something else to do in the general area that I can think of off the top of my head. 2 of them being for items and terrestrial stuff, aka like it's game mechanic related, and the other one not even being a town. And I know the towns also have these like copy paste sandwich shops and clothing shops and shit like that, but they don't really count since it's just a lackluster customization, which I might get into later. And the other one is just for a pushed game mechanic, which is the picnic shit, which sucks because some of these towns look really cool but suffer from just having no soul. Like the fact that you can't even enter into other buildings than just the gym is fucking crazy. It's saddening. And I know there are like 2 other buildings you can enter into, you know, the fucking school and the noodle shop area where you fight the normal guy, the normal gym, but like that's like 2. Even the shops, you don't even enter into them. It's like there's no rendered out interior. It's literally it just puts this stupid ass menu on your screen. The issue with this is that it limits one's interaction with these cities and the game's world as a whole, because like if you're not doing shit there, why think of it as more than just a location on the map? You feel me? Something that helps with the interaction of a game's world is side content outside of the school, which past me we'll talk about after all this. The terror rays, which are once again game mechanic based, and the mountain slope mini game, which is next to like the ice gym. There's fuck all, like no side missions, which is like, you know, kind of an important feature to an open world game. It kind of just falls to the detriment of the game, because what is the point in me talking to like NPCs or, you know, interacting with the fucking world if I'm not either given an item or like a mission to get an item? You know what I mean? Or like a Pokemon or some shit like that. This once again fucks up with one's interaction with the game, because if you have no reason to talk to NPCs, why would you? Which means, you know, players aren't going to interact with the world as much because they're not going to be trying to talk to any of the NPCs who could either, like I said, give the player a side mission to do, or, you know, give some history, some lore on the area, or even just like some sort of thoughts as a person living in the general area. But yeah, since this is an open world game, you know, side missions and exploration kind of go hand in hand. Like side mission will make a player go to a specific portion of the map that they wouldn't normally go to on their own accord, especially when there are side missions that are attached in concept to the location it takes place in. Something that would actually benefit this is those fuck ass watchtowers and ruins that you just find scattered around while you're playing the game. Outside of them just being some gimme ghoul chests and fast travel locations, there's literally nothing else to them. There's like no lore, which becomes a problem that I talked about in Gen 6 with the fucking rocks and the sundial. But, you know, to quickly sum up what all the bullshit I just said, game's world feels empty because there's just a lack of player interaction within it. No side content, no cool little like mini games, no side missions where you can do some cool shit. Like there's just nothing outside of the school, of course. Speaking of the school, I'm gonna toss it back to the past me. Let's move on to side content, because that's what the school is. It is side content. I like the school, I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was actually pretty interesting. I love how there's like just random books that you can just read that will give a little bit more lore. Did I read all of them? No, not really. I think I only read like the purple one, maybe. But I did take the history course and a little bit of the biology course, and I think the nursing course too. But the main reason why I took the nursing course and the history course was, yeah, I mean. But yeah, I actually liked the school. I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it was a neat way to add side content, even though, you know, I hate fucking school with a passion. And I do like how like there is an actual purpose to doing the courses, whether that be like you need to do the fucking course to learn about the legendaries. I think even to unlock the legendaries. When I'm talking about the legendaries, I'm talking about the 4 treasures of ruin, or like, you know, to obtain like an item. If I remember correctly, I think it's the biology one, you need to finish that all out to obtain the shiny charm. You know, some calm shit like that. I like that. Let's just finish this part out. I got some extra shit I want to talk about too. This is you know, I've been leading up to this customization. Oh boy, is the customization in Scarlet Violet. It's so Earth. Like, what happened, bro? How did over the time the customization got worse? I don't know how that happens. Like, I'm sorry, limiting your customization to socks, shoes, glassware, and fucking hats while your uniform and pants is pre-chosen to be 4 options is stupid to me. I'm sorry. And another thing is that, like I brought up in the Gen 6 section, customization is really important for your adventure type of game. It's your adventure, so personalizing your character to make more attached to your character and therein more attached to your adventure within the game, you know, is important, especially for this game in particular, because the whole point of Scarlet and Violet. Like, story-wise, it's supposed to be a treasure hunt where you're supposed to be finding, you know, what you want to do. Your treasure. So it's a game mostly focused on player choice, and having player choice be stupid fucking limited with in terms of customization falls to the detriment of the game. I'm hoping, you know, the future of Pokemon has better customization than whatever this dog shit is, and I hope they never return to it ever again. Another quick extra bad thing I don't like about the game: annoying ass abilities. I'm not gonna lie. Fuck Cloth. Fuck Reveroom. The worst 2 Pokemon to ever exist. I don't know who the fuck decided to give them these fuck ass abilities. Like, why does Reveroom just get an ability where he gains speed? A already decently fast Pokemon gains speed throughout the duration of the fucking battle. It's just annoying as shit. Cause why? Just fighting one is so obnoxious. Or just even using a Cloth is so obnoxious. Just because you have to, every turn, you have to wait for 4 fucking stat boosts or stat changes to fucking go through before you can continue fighting. It's so fucking annoying. You can tell I hated that Titan battle a lot. But you know, I've been talking too negative about Violet and Scarlet. You know, let's end it on a positive note, because I did enjoy this game. I actually did have fun playing it a lot. It's just, God, is there so many issues with the game. But you know, my personal favorite part of the game is you know, when you're just walking around in the wild and then the little baby Pokemon run up to you and just start yelling at you. I find it so adorable. It's so adorable, you know what I mean? It's so cute. But yeah, that's all. Once again, I could definitely say a lot more about this game, but in conclusion, it's just a game of missed potential, and I do hope that the next games that they release, you know, reach the potential that they should. But with that being said, let's talk about the future of Pokemon. This section, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna talk about Pokemon, period. The future of it, at least, as a franchise, especially within the Game Freak games. So we have Legends EA coming out in end of year 2025, and I'm very excited about this game. This is the most excited I've been about a Pokemon game since Legends Arceus, so you know, that's pretty fucking cool. I do like how it is mostly taking place in Lumio City, because I feel like in the X and Y games, Lumio City was very much hoed by console limitations, and I feel like, you know, it being a whole decade from then, being the Switch generation, you know, a console that brought us Breath of the Wild, Pikmin 4, Xenoblade, I have hope that they can do it justice. In regards to the trailer, that trailer was not good. My biggest complaint is Wild Zones. I think they're stupid. I definitely do think they could have just had you go out of the city. Like, they could have had the Wild Zones set up outside of the city, not inside the city. Mainly because it just disrupts how the city looks. And it's not even that either. It's just, it looks stupid. Like, I'm sorry, just having the fletchling right next to a fucking car is dumb. But one fix I definitely would say is, you know, having the Wild Zones set up outside of the city, and you can kind of just go into each of those sections. They all have different Pokemon, you know, kind of like how Legends Arceus had the different zones. I wish they could have just done that instead, but it's whatever. What else is there? The starters, I thought, were cool. I hope they do get a Mega Evolution as well as a final, maybe a different final form. Maybe. If not, I'm okay with a Mega Evolution. They showed a clip of hopping rooftops and shit like that. So it seems like, you know, there's gonna be a little bit of Assassin's Creed type roof hopping action, which I'm okay with. You know, I just hope the traversal is a lot more fluid than the last 2 games. Is it going to be? But you know, a man can dream. And I can't believe this entirely slipped my mind. The biggest thing I wanted to talk about was the battle mechanics. They look interesting as fuck. You know, I'm happy. I was actually really hoping for some sort of real-time like battle mechanic from Pokemon. That was really what I hoped for. Like, it's weird because I actually had a dream like 2 years ago. We're gonna have to see what the game when the game comes out to see how that battle mechanic is. Hey man, any departure away from the regular turn-based combat is always a hooray for me. But yeah, now stepping away from Legends EA, the future of Pokemon games, for me at least, I don't give a fuck about the generation games no more. Even like with Scarlet and Violet, I don't think I mentioned this, but the only reason why I got that game was for Lechonk. And you know, since I'm Filipino, you know, I mean, mans loves Lechon in that. I was forced into playing the game just for Lechonk. It just sucked that Lechonk wasn't a good Pokemon. But yeah, I don't really see myself playing any of the generation games unless somebody tells me like, hey man, the story is good. I'll be like, hey, shit, I might have to play. If there's any Gen 5, any games related to Unova or Gen 5, I'll definitely play them though. Generation 5 is my favorite generation. But yeah, in terms of the Legends games, I actually do hope they keep making these. I would rather these so much more than the fuck ass remakes. I'm so sick of remakes. I want them to continue doing the Legends games, because not only are they just better, but you know, it gives the Game Freak team the ability to experiment a lot more, not only with, you know, pre-existing generations or regions and shit, but like gameplay wise and story wise, because that's really what I want out of the Legends series. I remember when Legends ZA was first announced, a lot of people were saying, man, I don't want that, I want Legends Celebi, I want a Legends Kira. First off, like, I can't lie, I want games like that too, not Legends Kira, but you know, I want a Legends Celebi, but I don't want a Legends Celebi to just be, hey, we're returning back to Johto, but it's prehistoric Johto, or it's Johto before it became Johto. Like, that's so boring to me, because then I don't know, that's just so fucking boring. Because then, like, after a while, it's gonna become stale, and then it's just gonna be prequel fatigue. I don't want every Legends game they make be a prequel. They should definitely use them as a way to experiment a lot more with already pre-existing lore and shit. Like, if they do make a Legend Celebi, here's my idea. Like, just some interesting gimmick. I don't want them to just do a prequel to Johto. I want them to utilize the concept that Celebi travels through time and use that to their advantage, because they already did it with a movie, Pokemon 4 ever. They could definitely do it for a video game. And like I said earlier in the video with Gen 5, like, if they do make a Legends Kyurem, fuck Kyurem, just make a Legends Original Dragon, where they just have a game focused on the original dragon, and they already have lore attached to that dragon as well. They can just have it be set within the story of the fucking two brothers that were fighting, you know, some calm shit. Just make sure the gameplay is interesting and there's somewhat like decent writing, and I will eat that shit up. But yeah, man. Alright, thank you so much for watching. If you got to this point in the video, you know, comment your favorite Pokemon or like your favorite type. I don't know, whatever the fuck. I am so sorry that this video not only A, took a long time to edit, but B, is very fucking long. I'm not gonna lie, I am so sorry about that. I did not expect it to take this long and be this long. I can't cap. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely started getting lazy near the tail end of the video, of the editing process, because I just wanted to be done with this shit. I'm not gonna lie, this has been killing me. But yeah, really quickly, if you subscribe to the channel, I don't know why you would from this video, but if you did, I would say go watch my other videos first, because I don't make shit like this. It's like, I don't usually make videos like these, so you know what I mean. Like, if you're subscribing for this type of content, I'm not gonna lie, just go sub to Internet Pit Stop or like Hazel or some shit, people who actually like care about the shit. But yeah, man, thank you for watching, I guess. The next arc is starting like next week maybe. I want to try and start it like this Friday, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, I don't got shit to say. Oh, listen to my